Hello, this is Mark from Productive Computing and Productive Computing University. You are about to watch a selected JSON lesson from our free course called JSON Fundamentals for FileMaker Developers. Knowing how to create, parse, and manipulate JSON is essential in order to integrate FileMaker with the world of APIs, Claris Connect, artificial intelligence, and more. In this complete course, we'll cover everything you need to know about JSON from the perspective of a Claris FileMaker Pro developer. We're making this course available for free because we feel it's an important and essential building block for you to understand in order to advance your skills to the next level. And once you learn how to manipulate JSON formatted text, you are that much closer to accomplishing your first API integration in your own FileMaker apps. And like all our other courses at Productive Computing University, this course comes complete with downloadable FileMaker files for you to use and follow along with. These downloadable files are available directly in selected lessons inside the course. There's a link in the description to enroll in this free course called JSON Fundamentals for FileMaker Developers at productivecomputinguniversity.com. Okay, now let's dive into the lesson. This is a series of semi-advanced videos where we parse text. 3 tables that are all related to each other: customers, invoices, and invoice line items. And we will do this completely from scratch because I think there are lessons to be learned. This does require some advanced FileMaker usage. We have 3 loops that are intertwined together, so that can get complicated very quickly, especially if you are new to the world of FileMaker or new to programming in general. However, we will dig in, and this lesson will be here where you can stop, rewind, and take it at whatever pace you need to. So first, let's take a look at the JSON that we are going to parse. We have a customers table. Within customers, we have invoices, and within invoices, we have invoice line items, which you can see here. So if we were to just quickly interpret this, this is customer ID 1 by the name of John Doe. His first invoice is invoice ID number 101 with the date 1/5/2023. First line item is item ID A1 with a widget, quantity of 2 and a price of $15.99. Then we have invoice number 2, which is invoice 102, with its date and 2 line items for this. And then we're done with customer John Doe, and we're on to Jane Smith. Jane has 1 invoice with 3 line items. And as you study this closely, you can see where these are indented. And here's the customer level, if you follow this down. And then here's the invoice level. And then here's the line item level. So the indents give you a clue as to what you're looking at. Then we have customer 3, Bob Williams, with 3 invoices. The first has 1 line item, the second has 2 line items, the third has 3 line items. Alice Johnson with 2 invoices, and Charlie Brown with 1 invoice with 5 line items for Charlie Brown. So this is the data we're parsing. This is sort of indicative to more of a realistic scenario where you would have multiple tables woven together in a single document described in this way. This is a 3-level JSON parse project that we're about to embark on. So let's dive in. What I like to do is keep my JSON handy so I can use it as a reference. Right here, it tells you the exact structure, and it makes it a lot easier when you're building a script. So I'll open up FileMaker now. And we will create a file from scratch. Now that we've analyzed our data, this becomes a little easier to decide what tables we need and what fields we need for each table. So I'll call this Parse Advanced. Put that on the desktop. So for our table structure, let's just go ahead and build that now. So our first table, we will create a preferences table, and we'll rename the one that was there. And the fields for that, in this table, I'm just going to create a container field called JSON, and that'll be a container type field. And this will hold our JSON. We'll make sure it's a global so that we don't have to worry about what record we're on or making a relationship to it. It'll just be a temporary holder for our JSON, someplace to put it where we can capture it and eventually put it inside our script. So that's preferences. Then we'll go back here to tables and create contacts. And within contacts, of course, each one of these tables comes with the base fields that it comes with. So for customers, we need customer ID and name. So customer ID, and that will be a text-based. Actually, this is going to be a number-based. And I know that because this piece of data is not in quotes, whereas John Doe is in quotes. That means it's text. This one by itself means we can use a number field to format this. So customer ID equals number. And then name, of course, will be text. So we'll do that. Notice how I've named my fields the same as the JSON field names. That will make it easier to reference it in the script. You won't have to be guessing what field name to use because, as you know, case is very sensitive and the name has to be spot on for this to work. If you are working with an existing database and you have no choice but to keep the fields named as they are, then you can potentially use this comment section to put the JSON-based name in the comment so that you at least have some reference when you're working with this, or maybe you want that reference long-term. But I'll just do that here. And then at any time you want to look at the comments, you just click here and you can see your JSON formatted name versus whatever name you might have inherited based on the table when it was originally created. But since this is a fresh FileMaker file, we don't have to worry about existing field names. We can name our fields exactly the way we want to. We are done now with contacts. We've got the two fields that we need there. Next, we'll go to tables and we'll create another table called invoices. There's our invoices table. What fields do we need for that? We need invoice ID, which is in the form of a number. We need invoice date, which is in the form of a date. Notice how in most cases you'll get the date in this format where it's year, month, day. That's not how we do it here in the US. We do day, month, year. So we will have to cross that bridge when we come to it and reconfigure this date so that it's accepted properly by the date field here in FileMaker. So that's invoice date. And that takes care of that table. Our final table is the invoice line items table. So I'll just say invoice line items. And let's see what fields we need here. We will need the item ID, which is in the form of text. So I'll make sure that that's text. Then we need description, also in the form of text. We need quantity. That's in the form of a number. And then price, also in the form of a number. So these are the raw fields and tables as outlined by the JSON text. But there's another important ingredient that we need in order for us to connect these three tables together, assuming that we are building a related database. We need to have a couple more ID fields at our disposal. So for contacts, we are given a contact ID. And we'll be entering that into this table. But in order for invoices to link to contacts, we are also going to need some form of a contact customer ID so that we can tie those two together. So I will create a customer ID here as a number in the invoices table. In that same spirit, we will need an invoice ID in the line items table. So for that, we'll use invoice ID, also in the form of a number. And this would be the foreign key. And now let's go link these together so we can see this magic happen. So preferences, we don't need that at the moment. We'll just put this over here to the right. And then we have a traditional contacts, invoices, and invoice line item table occurrence set. This is something you would definitely see on a regular basis as a Claris FileMaker developer. So we can now link these fields together. Customer ID equals customer ID, and invoice ID equals invoice ID. That means these three are now linked properly. Invoices has its related line items, customers has its related invoices. So I'll push OK now. And let's go take a look at our actual tables in the layout mode. So we have contacts. Perfect. We have a customer ID and a name. So why not put a portal for the related invoices? So I'll create a portal here using my portal tool, and we'll create a link to invoices. And a good thing to put in this portal would be the invoice ID, I think, and the invoice date. So there is our soon-to-be growing list of invoices. And now we'll go to invoices and put the related line items. And we will link it just like this, based on the relationship we created a moment ago. And in this line items portal, I think a good thing would be to have the item ID, the description, the quantity, and the price. Of course, those are the standard line item fields that you would normally use. And everything looks good here from a raw data standpoint. The invoice line items has its fields ready to go. And it even has the invoice ID also on the layout because we constructed that all at the same time. Okay, so now let's get this set up. We want to insert our JSON into this container field. Actually, we want this as a text field, not a container field. It'd probably work either way, but let's just go with a text field. So we'll create a global text field. And we'll click change there. And that's now going to be a global text field. And I can copy this JSON that I got and paste it here like so. So now we've got that in our system and we can use it. All right, we are now ready to parse. Join me on part 2 when we parse customers. Thanks for joining us on this lesson. To enroll in the free complete course, click on the link in the description or visit productivecomputinguniversity.com, where you'll find both free and paid courses on today's most important topics related to the Claris FileMaker platform.